but he has been sealed, and everybody's kind of panicking now. We're breaking off into groups. We all have objectives and things that we're gonna attempt to kind of do here to hopefully minimize the amount of damage and things that are going to happen to us. And then the other group also has their own people that they want to go after and split into things that are creating challenges between each other to do things. So things I would believe would start ramping up here. I said last week, and I honestly still feel like that's going to be the case. We're going to probably use this as another transition episode. Last time was to transition us to what is to come, but also I believe this one will be more setup of getting us exactly where we need to be. And then probably going forward, maybe episode 12, maybe 13, one of those two will likely be when I think things start really hitting the fan and going crazy. So we'll end up having to see what occurs there. But I believe that's probably the route that we're going to head. So we'll have to just pay attention, I guess, this episode. If you like it all, hit the like and subscribe. Do mean a lot to me. Feel free to stick around for the discussion. Leave any comments, though, about this episode or series. This is a Toho show, as I always do say. They're going to block this at some point. They've already started to with the other episodes. So in a couple weeks when this ultimately gets blocked, if you're watching this late, check the link in the description or in the comments. There'll be one for you to go and watch the reaction if you still care. If not, hopefully I see you on some of the newer videos. Get going though with it. And then besides that, it just seems like ways to kind of transition us more into what's to come and stronger people to come at some point. But they do a good enough job, I guess, of introducing like cool and unique and interesting enough techniques and possibilities for other things going forward that it keeps it entertaining enough. The main thing I would say that they build up at some point here is just to showcase how the landscape of everything within the Jujutsu world here kind of changed as a result of Gojo being kind of alive and his presence and how much that has changed things. How they describe it in a way of like somebody like him comes along and they use a good enough, I guess, like explanation for it of the idea of like if you use something in sports and you have somebody like break a record or whatever the case is, everything kind of changes at a certain point. Everybody views the way that you do things and views it through the eyes of somebody else almost, and uses them as like the prime example and the thing that they're trying to get to. So essentially, everybody kind of evolves their own game and gets better over time as a result of that person being alive and being around. So with the birth of somebody as powerful and basically overpowered as fucking Gojo ends up being, it allows the rest of this world and the landscape here to change massively because people have to, one, be in fear of him, so they have to kind of hide and not do things, you know, not be so stupid about the way that they approach things, and they have to think a lot more tactically, and they have to evolve the way that they kind of go about things and get stronger. But also the ones who are similar to him in some sort of way or are on his side here essentially have to also kind of improve themselves and their strength over time because they realize that there is somebody as powerful and as strong as him, and they can't kind of rely on him and leave it all for him. And some of them want to get strong and want to do these things on their own. There's a prime example of how this kind of can turn out. When you have somebody like that, he ends up flipping sides at some point, but it is somebody who's kind of wanting to progress himself and push himself further and sees this other person, this gap kind of being closed so much because of just how overpowered in a way that this person can end up being. So the fear of somebody like Gojo and his presence was massive on this world. So what it perfectly sets up is basically what I've talked about for the past few episodes, is how when you have a figure like him that is now completely removed from the situation, because that's what we're doing by sealing him, right? Essentially, it allows a whole bunch of shit to go crazy. People who have been in hiding or people who have been kind of developing themselves and making themselves stronger over all these years and haven't really been able to run out and do these things in which that they probably have always done before his birth and always have wanted to in a way, are not able to because of somebody like him. So when he's sealed and he's gone now, it's the perfect opportunity to step in and go ahead and do something like that. They basically just used it as an example to tell us here. It seemed pretty obvious to me over the past few episodes that was the route that we were going, or just trying to showcase that when you remove a force like him, it allows a whole bunch of other things to happen, which is why I talked about how narratively it works so much better this way with Gojo being sealed and not being a part of this story, at least within this arc, because it allows for so many more things to occur versus if you have somebody like him, you always have it in the back of your mind, like this person can come out and do whatever and save everybody, which is like kind of lame, and we don't like that when they kind of make their last minute entrances, or you always have it in the back of your mind like this person's going to be able to do something, when it's like, nah, it'd be a lot more fun if you remove that overpowered person from it and everybody's on a lot more even playing grounds, or even the people that you're rooting for in these situations end up becoming the weaker side, and then you have to see what ends up happening. Like, as a result, can they overcome those things? And if they aren't able to, like, how will they be able to handle this, and what are the consequences and results that are going to happen to this by the removal of somebody so strong and OP? I think it makes a lot more sense, and it's a lot more fun that way. But they basically just kind of explain it in something so simple with that. The rest of the episode, I didn't personally care for a lot of it, I'll be honest. I can definitely see why people would love it, though. It's just, for me, I didn't personally enjoy like a ton of what was presented. I did like the different techniques and stuff that they were introducing, though, and I thought some of them were pretty cool and unique and just fun to kind of see. But a lot of like the random like cut-ins to Itadori just kind of like making like a joke or something, and him and Megami having like these moments just weren't funny to me. Like, they just felt really out of place. Even the ending of it felt like very abrupt, like for the way that they went about it. And a lot of like the pacing of the fighting felt really like a disaster to me. Like, it almost felt like everything we were doing, we were building up something. There's way too many like slow-mo shots to kind of give you this extra feeling and effect that basically get taken completely down, and you lose all momentum when they decide to switch it and show you a flashback instead, or decide to just do whatever with that situation that is not just developing the fight and allowing it to kind of progress itself out, and they use it as a way to kind of explain what is happening. While I do appreciate them putting that on screen and explaining it, I would rather have just seen the fight play out and then they tell us afterwards, or they talk about these things beforehand and then we see it all kind of play out, and instead they decide to not necessarily go that route. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes I have problems with it. This was one of the episodes where I felt like so many of the other things weren't hitting the way that I like would have liked them to, that it ends up playing out a little poorer. That's just for me, though. I don't know. For me, that's not my style, and it just didn't match with what I really kind of like. But I can understand, like, if people don't have issues with it, or if they don't care, I get it. This is more of like a style that I think works within the manga, and the way that it's probably presented, even like the cutaway jokes and the things that they're doing there. But I do think that when you put it into this format, the direction that they try and take has to kind of rearrange scenes a little bit to make them feel a little bit more impactful, that I feel like don't necessarily happen here. And that's okay, but it's a bit unfortunate. We start with an explanation that's pretty simple, I guess, to make you understand. Somebody's on the inside, they use this barrier or something to protect them, but in this situation and in the previous situation, basically they're not inside the barrier, they're on the outside, because then they can reinforce it and make it a lot better. They are taking the chance that somebody else can discover them over time, but that's okay, because they're assuming that the person's going to be so preoccupied and focused with this that it's not going to matter, which ultimately ends up working out, as we immediately realize that and notice where else could they possibly be but up here. So we go and we visit these guys. I love the way that they're able to come up here and get them, though, immediately being able to, and just kind of bypassing all of the transfigured things that are kind of like blocking the entrances and the ways of us getting up, to kind of create more time for them, and in a way to kind of stop everybody else. Being able to just like kind of fly up here and use these different things is really dope, and it's really cool how they're able to kind of drag him down and bring him down into the street. And I actually think that was a great approach for it. We get to learn a little bit about in his background here with Nanami, and how he just kind of feels in a way, and why he wants to be promoted and viewed as this different person, and he's kind of just following in Nanami's footsteps to the best that he kind of can. He unleashes pretty cool techniques for the most part, that I actually really thought was a interesting way for them to do. I don't think visually they came off that impressive, but just the way that it was kind of being explained and what it is seems pretty cool, and I actually like that a lot. We set this fight up a little bit here at the beginning, but it's not necessarily what I want to talk about. This is weird. So this, I'm just assuming, is somehow we get a hold of a part of this person in some sort of way, and then we can summon like the spirit of them by swallowing this. I don't know if this is like they got something off of Buddy when he died, or if they were able to get it beforehand and then they're able to use it. It's like kind of like a DNA thing, and you get it and then you can create like clones and copies of these things. Is it like essentially something like that? And through whatever the grandma's using in this situation, she's able to use like some sort of ritual or thing to kind of summon this, and she's able to get a piece of Toji here and use it as a way to kind of allow this guy swallow it, and then he kind of transforms into exactly what he was. And now even when he does do that, because he takes on a different shape shape and everything. So it's not Toji, but it's like his spirit, and he takes on like his cursed energy, like his technique and everything as well? Or is it just like he takes on a physical form? Like, what exactly does he do? They might have explained that, and I might have just kind of overlooked it and not noticed because I was too like, what the fuck is happening moment. But I don't actually know. This Gojo ends up being born, and then we end up killing Buddy over here, and of course it's the grandma, because what else would it be? And we kind of get explained a little bit about this is their job, and this is exactly what they did. And this is what I talked about more at the beginning, how when the birth of somebody like Gojo comes out, it kind of put a stop and put everything kind of got screwed up within this world. Of course, a lot more fighting and things kind of going on between them here, and us trying to figure out exactly what his technique and all that is. I love Megumi's thing of being able to show like or be able to summon and do like all these different things with like animals and stuff. I don't know, it's just so cool. The rabbits immediately gave me like ReZero flashbacks about what was about to happen. Buddy here gets fucking slaughtered by Toji, which is, or the Toji looking thing, I don't know for certain yet, but yeah, which is kind of crazy. And then also just like the elephant, come on there, that's awesome. I'm just saying, this is what I meant, the techniques and stuff that they displayed were really cool, and just the different things that we saw were cool. But that stuff's awesome. Once again, we're about to get into it, and then they pull us out, of course, to show us a flashback, screwing up the pacing and all that. But then we get right back into it. A lot of slow-mos and things again. This is a cool moment, though, where he thinks that he's fucking got him, and then we decide to just stop and then, like, kind of flick him and sends him flying due to his inverse technique, which I think is great. And then we end a little bit abruptly, but it is what it is. It'll probably transition us well into whatever's to come next. Not too much for me to, like, really say or go into, or I guess predict where we're going further. This is what I said when I was like, we're going to transition more. It was more action heavy, I guess, than what I thought, but it's more like transition, or I guess set up into what's more to come, explaining some other people's abilities, probably the stronger of the groups that we're going to end up having to go against, with the old lady, and being able to switch or do whatever she's doing with Toji over there, and then also be able to kind of move us even closer to our ultimate run-ins with the people that we're going to have to. It is more of pushing us in that direction, which was kind of expected going into this. Not too much I think I really want to overly say that I feel like hasn't been either obvious or wasn't stated enough within this. Decent enough, I guess. We'll be back next week. Hopefully we start really kicking shit off soon. If you liked it all, hit the like and subscribe to me. Not to me, feel free to check out the other videos on the channel. Leave any comments about this episode or series. Recommend other things that you might want to see me watch, especially this fall, as that is all starting now. I'll be back for episode 12 next week, though. You guys have a good one. Peace.